How far can you purchase the dip for? There's got to be a new phrase for it if you started purchasing the dip 8 months ago and it's continuously dipping. While gas prices continue to rise, distracting everyone, cryptos and stocks are deteriorating. Will the markets continue to crash? What's going to happen now? Welcome to Cryptique, a channel that gives critical evaluation or analysis, especially in dealing with crypto. Everything regarding money, finance, investing, cryptocurrency, and blockchain-related topics including ICOs, NFTs, and yield farming. Please subscribe and share this video. Also, do hit that like button. To explain that, we must return to the beginning of the problem, the pandemic. Simply transport yourself back in time. 2020. It's only just begun. 2020 sounds good. It has a certain ring to it. Perhaps this is the Roaring Twenties 2.0 and everything will be okay for a while. You learn about a new outbreak on the news, but you think to yourself, that'll never happen here. The news is just attempting to terrify us. There was Ebola, which came and passed. There's no big deal. But then something happens, and everybody you know is forced to stay at home for 14 days. A brief lockdown has been imposed in order to eradicate the outbreak. I'll take 2 weeks of rest. Mulan has recently been remade. I have a task to complete. Then 2 weeks grow into a month, and you discover Netflix has about 6 good shows. As a result, you ensure that you maintain as many screens beside you as possible at all times. Zoom calls and Slack are displayed on the laptop screen. For background noise, turn on the television. In hand, the phone screen, maximum pleasure, just as nature intended. But even that becomes repetitive. You learn about stimulus checks at that point. $1,200 check. Sure, I'll accept it. At the very least, that's plenty to glance forward to. Since COVID, the market has reportedly been plummeting and the US government is attempting to maintain the country solvent. That's strange. You'd think the wait at the supermarket has never been longer, but apparently folks are unemployed. The government has finally figured out how to deliver your check to you, but you have no clue what you'll do with it. Your Facebook buddies are purchasing even more displays to stare at. Your sister made a down payment on a beautiful new Lexus automobile. It's lovely, yet you're bored. Your group chat acquaintance keeps bringing up Tesla and Bitcoin. You have some free time, so you decide to investigate. For example, what if your single $1,200 became $10,000? That would be awesome. So you search for Bitcoin on Google, you skimmed a couple of CNBC pieces and think you understand it, but you don't. It's virtual currency, but there's only a limited supply of it and the price can rise. It's strange, but it's also cool. Tesla also appears to be cool. Elon Musk speaks as if his intellect is faster than his lips, implying that he is a genius. Plus, isn't it environmentally friendly? So you decide to invest your money in a few attractive equities and cryptocurrencies. Ethereum. Sure, go ahead. That person likewise speaks as though his head is outpacing his mouth. So you sit back and fantasize about how the market will grab your $1,200 and launch it to the moon. What's more? Guess what? It does. You're staring at returns that surpass even the finest hedge fund managers 3 months into the pandemic. In the group chat, you and your buddy are jiggling at your gains. You've become addicted to the world of investment. Your YouTube channel has changed from this to that. You've achieved the status of retail investor. You despise hedges, commerce, markets, and supply. Demand? No worries. Nevertheless, the small business environment is disintegrating. Your father's tile company experienced its roughest quarter in a decade. Service is appalling almost everywhere. Buying supplies and pieces feels like a strange scavenger quest. The globe appears to be in a poor state, but the markets are still performing well, and people are still posting on Instagram, so everything must be fine. While investing how to seek out a margin loan on Robinhood, you contemplate to yourself, I'll just stay to the markets. Everybody you know has started investing, and you've heard that more stymie checks are on the way. You realize you'll make a lot of money if you can get some money into crypto and Tesla before then. What's more, guess what? You do. The economy is thriving. The government is creating more money than it has ever printed before, and they claim that this is just good. Inflation is considerably more under our control now than it was in the 1970s. Have you noticed these levers? This is the economy, and we now understand how it works. So you're lying near your computer, imagining the cause and effect of the third round of stimulus checks as if you're the man from Limitless. Okay, you say, everybody who receives a paycheck will either spend it or invest it. People who invest in it will immediately help stocks and cryptocurrency. People who spend it would most probably do so at large corporations before eventually investing in equities and possibly crypto. Furthermore, the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates to near zero levels. As a result, huge enterprises may spend and boost the economy. What's your conclusion? Investments rise and they soar. Time passes and you've only had minor ups and downs. However, you are still riding on enormous earnings over a year of pandemic. You hold the S&P 500, Tesla, and Bitcoin in your golden hands. It's almost difficult to lose money when it comes to investing. Why isn't everyone doing it? Why would you ever consider selling? Meanwhile, all of your buddies are seeking work, but there appears to be a labor shortage as well. Almost every neighborhood restaurant has also closed permanently. You've just purchased a fourth monitor, a laptop that you've set aside for pricing charts since you don't want to overlook the next GameStop sell-off. Oh, and inflation is becoming strange. It keeps getting higher and higher. And that C-SPAN man keeps assuring you that it's only temporary. And you think to yourself, transitive makes perfect sense. Then the unthinkable occurs. Bitcoin will be devalued in May 2021. You're thinking, can it happen? Over the period of 3 months, your cryptocurrency account will lose 50% of its value. This is a disaster. What's the matter? So you start doing some serious research. You study what the supply chain is, which is basically all the processes a product must go through to end up in your shopping cart. And it comes out that raw materials, such as the stuff you dig up or produce from the ground, are in short supply right now. There aren't enough people to dig it up or transport it to a factory. Furthermore, businesses have been forced to shut down whole production lines. To avoid COVID epidemics, food manufacturers are limiting their workforce. Cars are just not being manufactured because each car contains around 100 microchips, which require raw materials and facilities. This is the first major hiccup. We can't manufacture anything else if we can't get things out of the earth. Is it really a big deal if we can't find someone to transport the stuff elsewhere to develop it? And does it really matter if we can't get the materials to produce the microchips that go back into the trucks that transport the materials to be refined and manufactured? How do you repair a wheel that's about to fall off a cliff? You're frightened. You follow the advice of every logical investor. You purchase the dip and seem like a genius after 2 months. stocks are basically flat. But the crypto market is already greater than it has ever been. You completely overlook the supply chain crap. You begin to investigate why your stocks aren't doing as well as they once did. You learn what a P/E ratio is, which is simply the amount of years it needs to pay off a profit-generating investment. A P/E of 10 indicates that it will take 10 years to return off the investment with earnings. The current P/E for the entire market is at 25, while the long-term average is 15. That may just imply that stocks will remain stagnant until earnings catch up. Isn't that the case? What about price increases? It has been hovering around 5% for some time, but it has suddenly risen to more than 6%. They continue to claim that this is only temporary. At the very least, you're aware of the entire supply chain issue. Prices will decrease if this improves. What about the trillions of dollars that have been put into the economy? I know I'm not an economist, but I know that possessing 4 times as many money doesn't make them worth more. There is basically just one way for value to go. So you gave it some thought and did what any logical investor would do. You make more purchases. Things went dull for the next few months. There isn't much movement up or down. You're not interested in learning more about the subject. Your YouTube homepage goes back from this to that when you switch off your screens to go outside. Everything appears to be going well in the world, and it appears to be improving. It's still wobbly, but the pandemic appears to have passed. Not really. If you account for inflation of your 1.5 years of returns, you're still among the most accomplished investors of all time. After some months, things start to get strange because nothing is corrected. In months, you have not yet encountered the words transitory. You would practically feel inflation when you shop, and you may have heard that interest rates may rise in the future, making money for businesses more expensive and less viable. Your investments are beginning to deteriorate. It's not much, yet it's enough to be noticed. So you lay there and consider it before, of course, purchasing the dip. That turns out to be not your greatest idea after a month. That wasn't your finest idea after only 2 months. You'll merely keep your money in the markets for the time being, but you won't add anything until things start turning green again. Isn't it true that everything eventually turns green? That's when Putin goes all surprise bitches and declares war. The stock market panics and sells off. And you understand there's more to it because Russia has oil and the rest of the world wants oil. The planet appears to be in a delicate balance. Supply networks remain a problem. So, not only do we lack the parts to dig, transport, refine, or create the things we require, but we also face higher fuel costs if we attempt. It's like sprinting while carrying a 5'7" Russian on your back. Meanwhile, month after month, inflation breaks 40-year records. The genuine meaning of transitory, it turns out, isn't very good. Nothing seems to work. The entire market has dropped. Maybe you're the 5th or 6th most outstanding investor ever, slightly ahead of Bill Wang at this point. Corporations you know and love, as well as Netflix, start to falter. And then a fateful day arrives. After 2 years, you finally chose to learn the identity of the C-SPAN person, Jerome Powell, who claims that world interest rates are rising. Stocks are declining. Cryptocurrency is losing value. A horrific $40 billion crash has occurred on Luna. Taxes at Walmart and Target. What on earth is going on here? A year and a half ago, your portfolio was more valuable. Is it all completely useless? When is this going to end? So, if you think this video has clarified some things for you, please consider liking it and clicking that bell button to be notified of our new videos. Also, you might want to consider subscribing to our channel. It'll really help us out. Back to our video. And so we arrive at the present day, where nothing is guaranteed. However, we do know that supply chains have not self-corrected, and individuals have less money to spend, resulting in increased expenses and reduced sales for firms. Not to add that borrowing costs have increased, thus high-growth businesses must fundamentally rethink their strategies. What happens next? Probably with more discomfort. The Federal Reserve has acknowledged that the experiment it is conducting did not proceed as planned and that revisions are required. In the short term, those changes will be painful. The problem is that we don't know how severe the agony will be. At this point, it's all about emotional reaction. Personally, I believe it will continue until a major player collapses owing to excessive debt. This would immediately cause fear, but it would also serve as a relief plug for the economy. Assuming that the horrible thing happened, we may all now take a big breath and relax a little. But meanwhile, I'm retaining a long-term perspective and seeking for bargains in the market, understanding full well that prices may fall even lower before recovering. That's just the way things are. I hope this information was useful. This was a lot of fun. And with that, this concludes our video. Acquired a lot of knowledge from this, we recommend checking out our other relevant videos from our channel. Also, consider sharing this video to any friends or family members who might find it useful. Until next time!